Hello, I'm Jonathan Bowman-Perks and welcome back to my favourite time of the week, and I am really thrilled to have Chris Wakerley with me. Now, Chris and I go back a long time, orienteering and various things in the army. He had a very successful military career, began as a REME aircraft engineer, and then got commissioned. They realised he was very talented, into the Royal Signals. Had an amazing career in the Royal Signals. From even as a troop commander, he was winning competitions against the infantry. Went on to become CEO of 2nd Divisional Signal Regiment and worked in the Permanent Joint Headquarters, but then realised it was time to reinvent himself, not change his leadership style, which is still very inspiring, which is why he's on this series, but to actually go into a completely new world. He went into set up his own business, Boxwood, a management consultancy firm, and became a really very successful leader of a management consultancy business. So successful that KPMG bought it and then made him a partner. And now you're running tech startups. So Chris, welcome. It's great to have you on the series.
Oh, thank you, Johnny.
Tell us a bit about your latest venture.
Well, the latest thing is a combination of management consulting together with the transformative power of data science.
Yeah.
So we're building, in some respects, some of the team have got the same DNA of the previous firm, but then there's a whole new strand to it around extremely capable technologists and data scientists. And it's fascinating, and it's also fascinating the kind of results you can get from combining those two things. So really enjoying it, lots of fun, fantastic people.
Yeah, and we were talking about a number of people who inspired you from being a young private soldier or a REME technician all the way up to throughout your career. Who would you give if you were going to choose two who are inspirational? What were their qualities that you admired?
Yeah, well, I can name a couple of people, and will do in a moment, but I think what I would say is that I've been very fortunate to see some great leaders along the way, both in the military and in industry. I think probably like you and others, who have also seen some people who are a lot less inspiring, and I think that sort of contrast does bring home to you know, how good certain people are. I guess back in my military days, I have very fond memories. Now, it's probably partly to do with the fact that my first troop commander job after Sandhurst was in an infantry brigade, and I have very fond memories of working for a chap called Tony Raper, who a number of people will know. And he had an interesting reputation, and I think some people thought he was quite a fearsome, and he certainly was a very fearsome intellect. But my whole recollection of that was, I guess, how much time and effort he put into me. You know, I think I always worked really hard and always tried to do of my best, but I think he took a lot of time and care and helped me, and I think we still see each other today, and I'm pleased about that, and I've learned a great deal as part of that experience. I was also in the military, career pretty fortunate to work for. I worked for a great chap called Bill Backhouse, who was a Royal Signals guy. Was fantastic. And
you also had Tim Evans in your platoon when you were officer cadet.
Way back in the day, and it was great to see Tim on it the other day. And of course, any conversation with Bill Backhouse in his office always took place with him holding a rugby ball, which I wasn't entirely sure we could have got a decision unless he had the ball in his hands. But Bill, if you're listening and you see this, it was fantastic stuff. But I also had a really great time. I worked for General John Kisley. In fact, I'm reading one of his books on Norway at the moment, which is quite interesting. Right. And I worked
because he was very inspirational for me in the Scots Guards. I served with him.
No, a really good time. And I worked for Andrew Ridgway, who I also really enjoyed the experience.
What did Kisley particularly? What qualities did you admire in him?
Well, again, I think it's interesting because I think everybody. I think for those of you, this is a little bit of an in point to make. But those of you in the Royal Signals would appreciate that. Working in the brigade commander, I'm close to the brigade commander, could actually be quite a difficult thing to do. It's quite a demanding place to be, and quite rightly so. But I think what I found is that John Kisley always took a lot of interest in the Signal Squadron. I think took a fair amount of interest in me, and I think that the quid pro quo was we were very engaged with him. I think you learn a lot. I felt very included as part of my time, and the whole thing was very educational. So, all in all, it was just fantastic.
Great. And then also interested, we discussed before, the humility of being good at what you do, but yet learning from your own personal mistakes. What would be a story you'd tell of when you got it wrong, completely wrong, and what you learnt from it, which shaped you to be a better leader going forward?
Yeah, well, no doubt, quite a few mistakes along the way. I was going to say nothing particularly springs to mind from my military days, but I think it's because it's now such a while ago. So it's probably a failing of memory, because there certainly were mistakes were made, and I think probably counselling was given. But more recently, what I have found is I've often tried to second guess things in clients, or second guess which of our people and teams will fit together with clients, and in so doing, I think I've disenfranchised a few people, and actually I've turned out to be wrong.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you have a view about what's involved and how something might be done, and what might work and what might not. But it's interesting. People are complex, and they deploy a variety of skills to achieve things, and so. Sometimes I've thought that's just not going to work, and it's worked perfectly. And actually, in the process of me trying to sort of force a certain solution, you've lost a bit of capital with your own people. So that's something that does stick in my mind, and it's one of the things that I'm determined not to do again.
As you carry on. Yeah. And finally, just a last little short top tip on leadership. What would be your just one top tip at this stage? We'll talk more.
Yeah, so my top tip, I think, for leaders is you get the people you deserve. And I've mentioned this to you before, Johnny, and I think there's a shortage of really great people. And if you look in the leadership environment, there's such big changes ahead. And if you look at what's coming on, whether it's environmentally, people now thinking beyond shareholder value, there's such enormous changes coming in business. So you need the best people. You get the people you deserve. That's about the leadership climate that you create and the way you lead and build your organisation. And I think it's really important, because great people in short supply, they don't really need you. There are many, many jobs for them to go to. And I think you forget that at your peril.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Chris, as always, fantastic being with you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I know people will enjoy listening to this and also the podcast. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant.